Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, Stephen Amell, a.k.a. Green Arrow, or The Arrow from the CW universe out there. You know, remember back when CW was actually good and they actually made a lot of really good DC television shows, at least for the first few seasons. Then it was so funny because I was a big fan of the CW back in the day and the DC verse, the Arrowverse, and all of that kind of stuff that spawned out of it. And it was so funny because I remember watching these series, and like the Arrow one I watched all the way to the end, but I didn't finish a single one of the other series. I didn't finish Flash. I didn't finish Legends of Tomorrow. I certainly didn't even bother with watching Batwoman. And it's so funny because I remember just getting bored with the stories and stopped caring about the characters and everything else. And what I realized now, looking back upon it, is that's when CW went woke, right? And I didn't really have a term for it at the time. I didn't really know it. I wasn't embroiled in this culture war as much as I am now, obviously. But it was very fascinating to see that, like, literally, I just recognized bad stories and characters that I didn't care about, and I got really bored and just stopped watching. Much like what we've seen a lot of the mainstream happen nowadays, where we're watching things with like the Acolyte and Star Wars and Rings of Power and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's really funny about that because, of course, a few folks out there decided to make some jokes about Green Arrow and John Cena's new stupid freaking show out there. The only thing that's surviving the DC purge, apparently, which I honestly didn't give two craps about Peacemaker. I'm really not a big fan of John Cena in any way, shape, or form, and really had no desire to watch the show, and I didn't bother with it. Well, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it turns out that there was a nasty little joke made about Green Arrow, aka Stephen Amell, in that show. Of course, once again, shitting all over all of the CW stuff, and even though a lot of people absolutely love and adore it, and guess what? Now Stephen Amell, the Green Arrow himself, has pushed back, and I absolutely love it. So we're going to get into this article from CosmicBook.news, see exactly what our dear sweet Arrow has said about this nonsense and this joke. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, because boys and girls, we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Let us know, what do you think about this? Are you a hashtag Team Arrow, or are you a hashtag Team Peacemaker? Are you a hashtag James Gunn fan, or are you one of those just like Stephen Amell who said, fuck those guys? Let me know what you think about all of that in the comment section down below. So our dear sweet Matt McGloin over there at Cosmic Book News, Stephen Amell on John Cena and James Gunn. Fuck those guys. Stephen Amell reacts to the joke in Peacemaker show about Green Arrow and says, fuck those guys, regarding John Cena and James Gunn. The first season of Peacemaker features many jokes about DC characters, with one joke in particular about Green Arrow. Cena's titular character says, that dude goes to brony conventions dressed as the back half of Twilight Sparkling with a 4-inch wide butthole drilled into the costume. Really? A brony joke and a homosexuality? That's the way you went with this? Okay. So Steve Aggie's John Eckermans adds, that's true about Green Arrow, but the first thing he said, that's real. With Freddie Storm's Adrian chasing in, and Aquaman fucks fish. Oh yes, the classic old time tried and true jokes. Boy, aren't you guys original over there? Following that episode first airing a couple of years ago, a fan questioned Amell about it on social media, who replied, haven't seen it, too busy showing Cena what professional wrestling should actually look like on TV. Obviously referencing his heel show, which I've heard absolutely nothing good things about, but it was not something that I was willing to get another subscription service just to show. Fortunately enough, it's coming to Netflix, boys and girls, so we'll definitely be checking that out. Now, while talking with Chris Van Vliet, Stephen Amell opens up more about it and didn't hold back when discussing the jab. He says, that's a little unnecessary. I didn't fucking appreciate that at all. And why would he be at all? Why would he? He then went on to voice his frustration about how Arrow and other CW shows have been treated over years, especially compared to the larger DC movies and shows like Peacemaker. Okay, I'm just going to come right out about this. There was just such, between the movies and Peacemaker, a little bit. Our show was kind of treated like shit. I get it. We're on the CW. I get it. It's TV. But I also get the fact that when people think about the most recent iteration of DC, they don't think about the Snyder Cut. They think about the Arrowverse. We got crapped on for years and years and years, and this just seemed excessive. I'm not actually mad, but I just remember hearing that and just being like, fuck those guys. Like, seriously. And yeah, and that's one of the things, I think some of my fondest memories of the DC era was during the CW stuff. I mean, like I said, for the first few seasons of a lot of these shows, even The Flash was really great before it went completely and totally sideways and Barry Allen just turned into like a beta male little cuck bitch by the end of the show that had to have the race swapped and erasure of a redhead wife of his out there just going, no, you can do it, Barry. You're great. You're fabulous. You're wonderful. Or she would talk down to him and say, you need to suck it up and da-da-da-da. I mean, literally, it was so bad. It was so sad. It was not the Flash, the cocky Barry Allen Flash that we know from all time in space out there. Like, it's literally just absolutely ridiculous. So, and guess what? All of that started with the Arrow. That's why we called it the Arrowverse, and that show was great. Amell continued with mentioned how he works just as hard as anyone else. I'm up here. I'm working just as hard as anyone else. Do you know how hard it is to play a superhero with no superpowers for 23 episodes a year? It's really, really, really hard. And I'm not looking for a prize, but like maybe don't shit on our shows, he said while joking and laughing that they might have to cut that out of the podcast. And it's true. I mean, you saw him doing those racks in that show. Stephen Amell actually was doing that. Like the guy did the work for this show. He busted his butt and became an absolute badass in the whole situation. So despite the frustration, Amell made it clear that his feelings weren't personal towards Cena, whom he described as a nicer, more genuine person. If I should be mad at anyone, it should be James Gunn for writing that in the first place. But Cena could not be a nicer guy. It's not a personal vendetta against Cena. So yeah, when Valiant suggested the pro wrestling match between Amell and Cena's retirement tour, Amell said it was no stranger to pro wrestling. Yeah, we've actually seen him in the crowds. He's actually been called out, and they were like, I want the Arrow. I don't want you, Steven. I want the Arrow. I thought that stuff was great. I absolutely loved it, which of course would be a rights issue and all kinds of other issues, but still, nonetheless, it was a great idea. Great idea. So Amell is no stranger to pro wrestling, said, sure, why not? I'm scared of that guy, though. He's huge. He's large, but he's very, very, very kind. And Amell's Heels starts airing on Netflix starting September 15th. And I absolutely love that. I think it's hilarious. I love seeing this kind of back and forth. I prefer to see Hollywood having fighting like this and having these actors and actresses and all these people come out and go, yeah, fuck that guy and fuck those guys and all that kind of stuff, because competition breeds excellence, boys and girls. And I honestly think that's what gave us the excellence of what the CW era was at the time. I love Stephen Amell. I think he's a great guy. He seems like a solid dude all the way around. I've never heard a bad thing about him. He's been nothing but kind and loving to the fans. And so many people will forever remember him as our generation's Green Arrow, and he absolutely deserves that. So shout out to Stephen Amell. And you know what? You're right. Stephen Amell, fuck James Gunn for that shitty ass joke, because hashtag Team Arrow, boys and girls.